The smoke filled the air like thick black clouds. 7-year-old Deho coughed hard as he tried to breathe. His lungs burned with each breath. The boy sat trapped under heavy metal beams that had fallen from the mining structure above him. He could not move his legs. Blood dripped from a cut on his forehead into his eyes. Everything had happened so fast. One moment, Deho was walking with his mother, Jiwoo, through the colony settlement on planet Talon 9. The next moment, explosions shook the ground. The mining equipment had malfunctioned. Fire spread everywhere. People screamed and ran in all directions. His mother's hand slipped from his as the crowd pushed between them. Deho had run the wrong way. He ended up in the old canyon area where nobody lived anymore. Then the ground cracked open beneath his feet. He fell into darkness. Metal and rocks crashed down on top of him. Now he lay here, alone and dying. The fire was getting closer. Deho could feel the heat on his face. Orange flames danced at the edge of the canyon, moving toward him like hungry animals. The smoke made everything dark. He wanted to call for help, but his voice was too weak. His throat hurt too much. "Mom," he whispered, but nobody heard him. Deho closed his eyes. He thought about his mother's smile. He thought about his father, Taemin, who worked in the deep mines. He wondered if they were looking for him. He hoped they were safe. The boy felt very tired. Maybe if he just slept a little, the pain would stop. High above the burning canyon, something massive moved through the smoke-filled sky. Wings larger than a spaceship cut through the thick air. Scales harder than starship metal reflected the firelight below. This was Vrath, an ancient creature the humans called a Draug. He was over 800 years old. Vrath had lived on Talon, 9 long before humans arrived. He remembered when the skies were clear and the mountains were quiet. Now these small creatures, with their machines and their noise, had taken over his world. They cut into the earth. They polluted the air. They feared him and his kind. The Draugans, as humans called his species, were few now. Most had left this world or died fighting the human expansion. Vrath remained because this was his home. These mountains, these canyons, the sky, all of it belonged to him first. He flew over the burning settlement with cold eyes. Let the humans suffer for what they had done to his world. Let them feel fear and pain. He started to turn away, to return to his lair in the high peaks. Then something caught his attention. A sound, so small he almost missed it. A child's weak cough coming from the collapsed canyon below. Vrath circled back. His golden eyes, bright like melted metal, scanned the smoke and flames. There, under the rubble, a tiny human child, trapped and dying. The dragon's first thought was to leave. Why should he care about a human child? Their kind had brought nothing but destruction. This child would grow up to become another one of them, another threat to his territory. But Vrath flew lower. Something made him look closer at the small figure below. The child's eyes were open, even through the smoke and pain. Those young eyes looked up at the massive dragon without screaming, without begging. The boy simply stared, accepting what was coming. That look stirred something deep in Vrath's ancient heart, a memory from centuries ago, his own offspring, lost in a planetary storm that had devastated these lands. His son had looked at him with those same accepting eyes as the floods took him away. Vrath had been too far away to save him. He had carried that guilt for 800 years. This child's eyes held no hatred, no fear, just a quiet courage in the face of death. Something pure that Vrath had not seen in a very long time. The dragon's massive claws dug into burning earth as he landed. The impact shook the ground. Fire scattered away from his presence. Vrath's head, as large as a transport vehicle, lowered toward the trapped boy. Deho blinked. Through his fading vision, he saw red scales, golden eyes, a face that could swallow him whole. But he felt no fear. He was too tired for fear. He simply looked at this magnificent creature and wondered if he was already dead and dreaming. Vrath's claws, each one as long as the boy's entire body, carefully gripped the metal beams. With strength that could crush mountains, he lifted the debris as gently as he could. The metal groaned and bent. Rocks tumbled away. The boy was free, but unconscious now. Blood covered his small body. Vrath knew the child would die here in the smoke and flames if left alone. The dragon hesitated. Every logical thought told him to leave, but that memory of his lost son would not fade. This child deserved a chance Vratha's own offspring never had. Carefully, Vrath picked up the tiny human in his claws. The boy fit in one palm. So fragile, so small. The dragon's scales were hot from the fire, but he angled his body to shield the child from the worst of the heat. Then Vrath spread his enormous wings and lifted into the smoky sky. He flew through walls of flame that would have killed any human instantly. His thick scales protected him. He curved his claws around the boy, creating a pocket of cooler air. Below, the human settlement was in chaos. People were screaming, running, trying to save themselves and each other. Vrath flew toward the edge of the safe zone where the fire had not yet reached. He saw a group of humans, search parties looking for survivors. The dragon landed in the darkness beyond their lights. Gently, he placed the unconscious boy on the ground near where the humans would find him. He looked at the child one last time. Blood and ash covered the small face, but the boy was breathing. He would live. Vrath heard voices approaching. Flashlights cut through the smoke. A woman's voice, desperate and crying, called out a name. Deho, where are you? The dragon stepped back into the shadows. His golden eyes watched as a woman ran forward and found the boy. She screamed with joy and relief, falling to her knees beside her son. Other humans rushed over with medical equipment. He's alive. Jiwoo, he's alive, someone shouted. My baby, the woman sobbed, holding her son carefully. My baby. Vrath watched the reunion from the darkness. Something warm stirred in his chest. Something he had not felt in centuries. Not quite happiness, but close to it. The child would live, would grow, would have a chance his own son never had. The dragon spread his wings and lifted silently into the night sky. The humans never saw him. They would never know what saved their child. They would call a miracle. They would say the boy was lucky. But Deho, even in his unconscious state, would remember fragments, red scales catching firelight, golden eyes full of ancient wisdom, the feeling of being protected by something powerful and warm. As Vrath disappeared into the high mountains, he looked back one last time at the settlement. The boy's face was burned into his memory. Those accepting eyes, that quiet courage. The dragon did not know why he had saved the human child. He did not understand the feeling in his chest. But as he returned to his lonely lair in the Crimson Peaks, Vrath knew something had changed. For the first time in 800 years, he did not feel completely alone. The boy lived, and somehow that mattered. 15 years had passed since the fire. Deho was now 22 years old and a pilot in the Frontier Defense Corps. He sat in the cockpit of his fighter ship, hands steady on the controls as he flew through the asteroid field near the Gamma Sector. His co-pilot Hannah sat beside him, checking the navigation systems. All clear on scanners, Hannah said. She was a sharp woman with quick reflexes and a sharper tongue. She had saved Deho's life twice in combat. He trusted her more than anyone except his parents. Deho nodded and adjusted their course. They were on patrol duty, making sure no pirates tried to attack the mining convoys. It was boring work, but necessary. Humanity had spread across 40 star systems now. Every day, more colonies opened. More resources were needed. More space was claimed. But not everyone was happy about human expansion. Many worlds had their own native species. Some fought back. Some fled. Some went extinct. Deho tried not to think about that too much. He was a soldier. He followed orders. He protected human lives. That was his job. You're thinking about the dragons again, Hannah said without looking up from her console. Deho glanced at her. How do you know? You get this look on your face, like you're somewhere else. Hannah finally turned to him. You've been like this ever since we got the new assignment. What assignment? Deho asked, though he knew exactly what she meant. We're going back to Talon 9 tomorrow, Hannah said. Your home world, where the Draugans live, or used to live. Deho's hands tightened on the controls. Talon 9. He had not been back there in 15 years. After the fire that nearly killed him, His family had moved to a safer colony world. His father got a better job. His mother became a colonial engineer on a different planet. They built a new life far away from the dangers of Talon 9. But Deho never forgot. He had dreams sometimes. Red scales glowing in firelight. Golden eyes watching him from the darkness. Massive claws lifting him gently from death. His mother said he had been delirious from smoke and injury. His father said it was just his imagination making sense of trauma. But Deho knew what he saw. Something had saved him that night. Something big and ancient and powerful. He believed it was one of the Draugans, the creatures humans feared and hunted. The dragons are almost gone now, Hannah said quietly. Corporate hunting teams have killed most of them. They sell the scales to armor manufacturers. One scale can buy a house. Deho felt sick. That's murder. That's business, Hannah corrected. The corporations got legal permits 5 years ago. Draugans are classified as dangerous animals now, not intelligent beings. No laws protect them anymore. That's wrong, Deho said. His voice was harder than he intended. Hannah studied him. You really believe one of them saved you, don't you? After all these years. I know it did. Deho said simply, I remember. Not everything, but enough. It could have left me to die. Instead, it risked itself to carry me to safety. That's not animal behavior. That's intelligence. That's choice. Hannah was quiet for a moment. Then she smiled slightly. Well, maybe you'll get your chance to find out. We're assigned to protect mining operations in the Crimson Peaks region. That's where the last Draugans are supposed to be hiding. Deho's heart beat faster. The Crimson Peaks. He had heard stories about that place. The highest mountains on Talon 9, where the ancient dragons made their lairs, where the red-scaled Draugans lived. There's something else, Hannah added. Her voice got serious. A hunter named Kite is on Talon 9 right now. He's not there to kill the dragons. He wants to capture them alive. Some genetic research company hired him. They want to study Draugan DNA, maybe clone them or use their biology for human augmentation. That's worse than killing them, Deho said. Maybe, Hannah agreed, but it's legal, and we're military. Our job is to protect the corporate operations, not interfere with them. Deho did not respond. He stared out at the stars beyond the cockpit window. Somewhere out there, on Talon 9, the last of the Draugans were fighting to survive. And somewhere among them might be the one who saved his life. He had carried a debt in his heart for 15 years. A debt he could never repay because he did not know who to repay it to. But now he was going back. Maybe he would get his chance. The next day, their ship entered Talon 9's atmosphere. Deho watched through the viewport as the planet grew larger. He saw the familiar red deserts, the blue oceans, the green forests, and the white peaks of the Crimson Mountains. Home. He had not realized how much he missed it until now. They landed at the main military base near the colony settlement. The base was much bigger than Deho remembered. More buildings, more ships, more soldiers. The colony had grown. What used to be a frontier outpost was now a thriving industrial center. But the air still smelled the same, dry and dusty with a hint of sulfur from the volcanic regions. Deho breathed it in deeply. Feels different being back? Hannah asked as they walked across the landing pad. Everything looks different, Deho said, but it feels the same. They reported a commander, Sung-Ho, a strict military man, who did everything by the book. He briefed them on their duties. Patrol the mining zones. Keep watch for any Draugan activity. Protect the workers. Simple enough. One more thing, Sung-Ho said, stay away from the hunter operations. Kite and his team have corporate authority. They don't answer to us. Don't interfere with their work. What exactly is their work, sir? Deho asked. Capturing specimens, Sung-Ho replied flatly. Draugans, alive if possible. They've located a large one in the Crimson Peaks. Very old, according to their scans. They plan to move in within 48 hours. Deho felt his stomach drop. Sir, the Draugans are intelligent. They can think and feel. Capturing them is... Not our concern, Sung-Ho interrupted. We're soldiers, not activists. You have your orders. Dismissed. Outside the commander's office, Hannah grabbed Deho's arm. Don't do anything stupid, she warned. I'm not, Deho said, but his mind was racing. That night, Deho could not sleep. He lay in his bunk staring at the ceiling. Somewhere in the Crimson Peaks, an old Draugen was about to be captured, maybe tortured for science, maybe killed. Was it the one who saved him? The one with red scales and golden eyes? He had to know. Before dawn, Deho left the base. He told the gate guard he was going for a morning run. Instead, he took a transport vehicle and drove toward the old canyon, the place where the fire had happened 15 years ago. The canyon looked different now. Mining equipment surrounded it. The area had been stripped for resources. But deep inside, away from the machines, Deho found the spot where he'd been trapped. He stood there remembering. The smoke, the fire, the crushing weight, the acceptance of death. Then the red scales, the golden eyes, the gentleness despite the size and power. Where are you? Deho whispered to the empty air. Are you still alive? He searched the canyon walls. Looking for what? He did not know. A sign, evidence, anything. Then he saw it. High up on the rock face. Claw marks, deep gouges in the stone that no mining equipment made. The marks were huge, deliberate, almost like writing. Deho climbed up for a closer look. His heart pounded. The claw marks formed a pattern. Not random scratches, but shapes, images. He saw a figure that looked like a Draugen. Beside it, a tiny human shape. Between them, something that might represent fire or light. A story carved in stone. A memory preserved. You were here, Deho said softly. You remembered too. He took photos with his wrist communicator. Then he noticed something else. Fresh marks near the old ones. Recent scratches. Someone or something had been here not long ago. His communicator buzzed. A message from Hannah. Where are you? Commander is asking questions. Deho looked up at the crimson peaks in the distance. Red mountains against a purple dawn sky. Somewhere up there, the last ancient Draugen was running out of time. And Deho had 48 hours to decide what mattered more, his duty or his debt. He climbed down from the canyon wall and headed back to his vehicle. But he knew his decision was already made. 15 years ago, someone saved his life when they did not have to. Now it was his turn. The question was not if he would help. The question was how. Deho sat in front of his computer terminal in the barracks. His fingers moved quickly across the keyboard. He was breaking several military regulations right now, but he did not care. He needed information. Hannah stood behind him, watching the door. If anyone asks, I'm not helping you with this, she said. You're just standing there. Deho replied without looking up. Standing here while you hack corporate databases. That's called being an accomplice. Then leave, Deho said. Hannah did not move. What exactly are you looking for? Kite's mission files, his team's location, their capture schedule. Deho's screen filled with data. Encrypted files, mission reports, equipment manifests. He had learned some basic hacking skills during intelligence training. Enough to break through standard corporate security. The files opened. Deho read quickly, his heart sinking with every line. Kite had been tracking the Crimson Ancient for 3 months. That was what they called the Dragon, the last of the truly old Draugens. According to the reports, this creature was over 800 years old. Its scales were deep red, almost crimson. Its eyes were described as gold. Red scales. Golden eyes. It's him, Deho whispered. Him who? Hannah asked. The one who saved me. Deho pointed at the screen. Look at the description. Red scales, golden eyes, enormous eyes. It's the same dragon from my memories. Hannah leaned closer to read. They've located his lair in the highest peak. They're moving in tomorrow at dawn. They have sonic weapons designed to exploit Draugen hearing. The sound waves will paralyze him without killing him. We have to stop them, Deho said. We can't, Hannah replied. They have legal authority. We're military. If we interfere, it's desertion and obstruction of corporate operations. That's 10 years in prison. Deho stood up and faced her. So I should just let them capture him? Torture him in some laboratory? After he saved my life? You don't even know for sure it's the same dragon, Hannah argued. I know, Deho said firmly. I can feel it. It's him. Hannah sighed. She looked at Deho for a long moment. Then she shook her head. You're really going to throw away your career for this? If I have to, Deho said, some debts have to be paid. You're insane, Hannah muttered, but then she smiled slightly. Fine, I'm in. What? I said I'm in. If you're going to commit career suicide, you'll need backup. Someone has to keep you alive. Hannah moved to the terminal and started typing. But we do this smart. We need a ship, supplies, and a plan. We have 18 hours before Kite moves in. Deho felt relief wash over him. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. We might both end up in prison for this. They worked through the night. Hannah accessed the flight schedules and found a small reconnaissance ship that was scheduled for maintenance. It would not be missed for at least 24 hours. Deho gathered supplies, climbing gear, medical equipment, emergency rations. Just before dawn, they slipped out of the barracks. The base was quiet. Most soldiers were still sleeping. They reached the hangar bay without being seen. The reconnaissance ship was small but fast, designed for 2 people, perfect for their needs. They climbed aboard, and Hannah started the engines. The ship hummed to life. Once we launch, there's no turning back, Hannah said. They'll track us. They'll know we deserted. I know, Deho said. He strapped into the co-pilot seat. Let's go. The ship lifted off smoothly. They flew low to avoid the base radar systems. Within minutes, they were heading toward the Crimson Peaks. The mountains rose before them like giant red teeth. The highest peak pierced the clouds. Somewhere up there, the ancient dragon waited, not knowing that hunters were coming, not knowing that 2 humans were racing to warn him. I'm picking up Kite's team on scanners, Hannah said. They're 40 kilometers behind us, moving in with heavy equipment, ground vehicles, and aerial drones. Can we get there first? Deho asked. Barely. But landing will be dangerous. The peak is all rocks and ice. No flat ground. Do your best, Deho said. They climbed higher into the thin atmosphere. The ship shook as mountain winds buffeted it. Hannah's hands moved expertly over controls. She had flown in worse conditions. The peak emerged from the clouds. Deho saw a massive cave opening near the summit, dark and deep, large enough for something very big to enter. There, he pointed. That's got to be it. Hannah brought the ship down on a narrow ledge 100 meters below the cave. The landing was rough. Metal scraped against rock. But they were down. Deho grabbed his gear and jumped out. The air was thin and cold. His breath came out in white clouds. Hannah followed close behind. They climbed toward the cave opening. The rocks were sharp and slippery with ice. Deho's fingers were numb by the time they reached the entrance. The cave mouth was huge, 3 times the height of a man. Claw marks covered the rock around it. Ancient marks, worn smooth by centuries of wind. Hello, Deho called into the darkness. His voice echoed back to him. No response. They entered the cave. Deho turned on his flashlight. The beam cut through the darkness, revealing a tunnel that went deep into the mountain. The walls were covered in more claw marks. Some looked like pictures, stories carved in stone. He's been here a long time, Hannah whispered. They moved deeper into the cave. The tunnel widened into a massive chamber. Deho swept his flashlight across the space and gasped. The chamber was enormous. The ceiling disappeared into darkness above them. And in the center, lying on the stone floor, was the dragon, Wrath. He was even bigger than Deho remembered from his childhood memories. His body stretched across the chamber like a small mountain. His scales were deep crimson, each one as large as a dinner plate. His wings were folded against his sides, tattered and worn with age. The dragon's eyes were closed. For a terrible moment, Deho thought they were too late. But then he saw the slow rise and fall of the massive chest. breathing. He's alive, Deho said. Barely, Hannah replied. She pointed at the dragon's body. Look how thin he is. You can see his ribs. He's starving. She was right. Vratha's body, while still enormous, looked withered. His scales were dull. His breathing was labored. This was not a healthy dragon. This was a creature at the end of his life. Deho approached slowly. Hello, he said softly. Can you hear me? The dragon's golden eyes opened. They focused on Deho. For a moment, neither moved. Then recognition flickered in those ancient eyes. Vratha's head lifted slightly from the floor. A deep rumbling sound came from his chest. Not quite a growl, more like surprise. It's me, Deho said. The boy from the fire. You saved me 15 years ago. Do you remember? Vrath stared at him. Then the dragon's head lowered again. Too weak to hold it up, but his eyes stayed on Deho, watching, remembering. Suddenly, alarms blared outside. The sound of engines echoed off the mountain peaks. Kite's team had arrived. Hannah ran to the cave entrance and looked out. They're here. 6 vehicles, 20 men, and they've got the sonic weapons online. Deho looked at Vrath. The dragon was too weak to fight, too weak to fly. If the hunters got inside, they would take him easily. We need to seal the entrance, Deho said. He ran to Hannah's side and looked at the cave structure. If we collapse the tunnel, they can't get in. We'd be trapped in here with the dragon, Hannah pointed out. I know, Deho said. He grabbed the explosive charges from his gear. Every soldier carried them for emergency situations. But it'll buy us time. Outside, Kite's voice boomed through a loudspeaker. This is a legal corporate operation. Come out now and you'll only face desertion charges. Interfere further and we add obstruction and theft. Deho placed the charges at key structural points in the tunnel. Hannah helped him set the timers. Last chance, she said. We can still walk away. Deho looked back at the chamber, at the ancient dragon lying there, weak, alone, waiting to be captured and used. He thought about being 7 years old, trapped under burning metal, accepting death, and then those golden eyes looking down at him. The choice that dragon made to save a human child when he had no reason to. No, Deho said. We stay. He activated the charges. Run. They sprinted back into the main chamber. Behind them, explosions roared through the tunnel. The entire mountain shook. Rocks and ice crashed down. Dust filled the air. When the dust cleared, the tunnel was gone, completely collapsed. Tons of rocks sealed the entrance. Outside, they could hear muffled shouts. Kite's team yelling in frustration. The sounds of drilling equipment starting up. Hannah coughed and waved dust from her face. Well, we're committed now. Deho walked back to Vrath. The dragon watched him with those knowing golden eyes. In the darkness, lit only by the flashlights, those eyes seemed to glow. And for the first time in 15 years, Deho stood face to face with the creature who saved his life. We're here to help, Deho said quietly. You saved me once. Now let me try to save you. Vratha's eyes closed slowly, then opened again. A gesture that might have been understanding, or might have been gratitude. Outside, the drilling sound grew louder. Kite's team was not giving up. And in the sealed chamber, 2 humans and 1 ancient dragon waited in the darkness together. The darkness inside the cave was complete except for the glow from Vratha's scales. The dragon's crimson body gave off a soft light, like dying embers. It was beautiful and sad at the same time. Deho sat on the stone floor near Vratha's massive head. Hannah checked her equipment across the chamber. The drilling sounds from outside were constant now. A steady grinding noise that echoed to the sealed cave. How long before they break through? Deho asked. Hannah looked at her scanner. 4 hours. Maybe 5. The rock is dense, but they have good equipment. 4 hours. Not much time. Deho turned back to Vrath. The dragon's golden eyes watched him with intelligence that was unmistakable. This was no animal. This was a thinking, feeling being who had lived for centuries. Can you understand me? Deho asked. Vratha's eyes blinked slowly. Once. A clear yes. I wanted to thank you for 15 years. Deho continued. You saved my life when you didn't have to. I was just a human child. My people have done terrible things to your kind, but you saved me anyway. The dragon's head shifted slightly. His massive eye, as large as Deho's chest, studied the young man's face. Then something strange happened. Deho felt a pressure in his mind. Not painful, more like a gentle knock on a door. He gasped and looked at Hannah. Did you feel that? He asked. Feel what? Hannah replied. The pressure came again, stronger this time, and suddenly, images flooded into Deho's mind. Not his memories, someone else's. He saw a planet from long ago, Talon 9, but different. The sky was clearer. The mountains were pristine. Dozens of dragons flew through the air, their scales catching sunlight. A civilization of Draugans living in harmony with their world. Then the image changed. He saw a female dragon with silver scales. Beside her, 2 young dragons played in the mountain streams. A family, Vratha's family. The next image made Deho's heart ache. A massive storm, lightning and floods. The young dragons caught in rising water. Wrath flying desperately toward them, but too far away. Too late, the water taking them. The female dragon's wings broken, unable to fly. Her final cry as the flood swept her away. Wrath alone. Centuries of loneliness. Watching his world slowly die. Watching new creatures arrive with their machines and noise. Watching his kind hunted and killed one by one. Then the image of a small human boy trapped under metal. Fire everywhere. And in that moment, Wrath seeing his lost son's face in the child's eyes. Making a choice. Saving what he could not save before. The images faded. Deho found tears running down his face. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm so sorry for what you've lost. Wrath's breathing was labored. The effort of sharing his memories had exhausted him, but his eyes held something like peace. Finally, someone understood. Hannah had been recording everything on her suit camera. She lowered the device slowly. That was real, she said in awe. He was showing you his life. He saved me because he couldn't save his own son, Deho said. His voice shook. All this time, I thought it was random, but it meant something to him too. Deho's communicator buzzed. He looked at the screen. A call from his mother. He hesitated, then answered. Deho. Jiwoo's voice was frantic. What have you done? The military is looking for you. They say you deserted. They say you stole a ship and interfered with corporate operations. Mom, I can explain. Where are you? Jiwoo demanded. Deho looked at Wrath. I'm in the Crimson Peaks, with a dragon who saved me 15 years ago. Silence on the other end. Then Jiwoo's voice came back quieter. The dragon from the fire? The one you always talked about. Yes, Deho said. He's real, Mom. And he's dying. Hunters are trying to capture him for experiments. I couldn't let that happen. Oh, Deho, Jiwoo said. She sounded like she might cry. You've thrown away your entire future. My future wouldn't exist without him. Deho replied. He carried me out of that fire. He could have left me to die. Instead, he saved me. Now it's my turn. He heard his mother take a deep breath. Put me on speaker, she said. Deho switched the communicator to speaker mode. Jiwoo's voice filled the cave. Is he there? Can he hear me? She asked. Yes, Deho said. He can understand us. Jiwoo was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was thick with emotion. Thank you, she said simply. Thank you for saving my son. Thank you for giving him back to me. I never knew who to thank, but now I know, so thank you. Wrath's eyes closed slowly. A deep rumbling sound came from his chest. Not a growl, something softer. Acknowledgement. I'm going to do everything I can to stop this, Jiwoo said, her voice becoming firm. I have some political power now as a colonial governor on New Terra. I'll make calls. I'll contact the media. I'll expose what these hunters are doing. It might not be enough, Hannah said. Maybe not, Jiwoo agreed. But I have to try. He saved my child. I owe him everything. The call ended. Deho looked at Wrath. Did you hear that? People are trying to help. You're not alone anymore. But even as he said it, Daeho could see the truth. Wrath was not just weak from hunger. This was old age. 800 years of life reaching its natural end. The dragon's breathing was getting slower. His scales were losing their glow. He's dying, Hannah said quietly. Even if we get him out of here, I don't think he has much time left. Daeho moved closer to Vratha's head. He placed his hand on the dragon's snout. The scales were warm and rough under his palm. What do you want? Daeho asked. Tell me what you need. Please. The pressure in his mind returned, gentler this time, and with it came a feeling more than words. Not rescue, not escape, just this moment, seeing the child he saved grown into a man of honor, knowing his choice mattered, knowing he was not forgotten. You wanted to see me again, Daeho realized. That's your wish. To know I lived, to know I became someone good. Wratha's eye opened fully. The golden color seemed brighter for a moment. Yes, I did live, Daeho said, his voice breaking. I had a good life because of you. I went to school. I joined the military. I made friends. I saw other worlds. I had all of that because you saved me. Tears fell freely now. You gave me everything. The dragon's breathing slowed further, but those golden eyes held contentment. Peace. Suddenly, the drilling sound stopped. Voices shouted outside. Then Kite's voice came through the rock, amplified by speakers. We're breaking through in 30 minutes. Surrender now and face reduced charges. Hannah checked her scanner. He's telling the truth. They're almost through. Daeho looked around the chamber. He saw the ancient claw markings on the walls. Stories of Wratha's long life carved in stone. 800 years of memories. I won't let them take you, Daeho promised. Whatever happens, I won't let them use you like some laboratory specimen. But Wratha's eyes were closing. His breathing became shallow. The glow from his scales dimmed. No, Daeho said. Stay with me. Please, just a little longer. Hannah knelt beside Daeho. I don't think he's dying from the hunters, she said softly. I think he's been waiting to see you one last time. And now that he has... She didn't finish the sentence. Daeho understood. Wrath had held on long enough to see his wish fulfilled. The child he saved had grown up, had become someone worth saving, had come back to say thank you. It's okay, Daeho whispered, his hand still on Wratha's scales. You can rest now. You did good. You saved me. And because of that, I'll save your memory. I'll make sure everyone knows what you did. I'll make sure your story doesn't die with you. Wratha's chest rose and fell one more time. His golden eyes opened briefly. Looking at Daeho was something that looked like gratitude, like love. Then the eyes closed. The breathing stopped. The glow from the scales began to fade. But something strange started to happen. Wratha's body began to change. The scales started to crystallize, turning clear and hard like diamond. A soft light grew from within, pulsing gently. What's happening? Hannah whispered in awe. Daeho watched as Wratha's entire body transformed into crystal, beautiful and eternal. And from the crystallized form, tiny points of light began to emerge. They floated up like fireflies, hundreds of them, thousands of them. The lights drifted toward the ceiling of the cave. They passed through the solid rock, as if it were not there, rising up into the sky beyond. Seeds. Hannah breathed. Those are seeds. Some kind of biological process. He's spreading his genetic legacy. Daeho stared up at the lights floating away, carrying Wratha's essence across to Lone 9, perhaps creating new life, perhaps ensuring his species would not truly die. Behind them, the sealed tunnel exploded inward. Kite and his hunters burst through, weapons ready. They stopped short at what they saw. The crystallized dragon, the two humans kneeling beside it, the last lights floating away through the ceiling. Kite lowered his weapon slowly. For once, the hardened hunter looked uncertain. What happened? He died, Daeho said simply, but his wish came true first. The military tribunal was held 3 weeks after Wratha's death. Daeho and Hannah stood in the center of a large courtroom. Hundreds of people filled the seats. Cameras recorded everything. This trial was being broadcast across all 40 human star systems. Commander Sung-ho read the charges: desertion, theft of military property, obstruction of legal corporate operations. How do you plead? Before Dae-ho could answer, the courtroom doors opened. His mother Ji-woo entered, followed by a team of lawyers and several colonial governors. She walked straight to the front. "Your Honor," Ji-woo said to Judge Eun-ji, who presided over the trial. Before they enter a plea, the defense wishes to present new evidence. Judge Eun-ji was a stern woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had been a judge for 30 years and had seen everything. "What evidence?" she asked. Ji-woo nodded to Hannah. "My son's co-pilot recorded everything that happened in the cave. The entire galaxy needs to see this." The lights dimmed. A holographic screen appeared in the center of the courtroom. Hannah's recording began to play. The audience watched in silence as the images unfolded. They saw Vrath lying weak in his lair. They saw Dae-ho approaching him. Then they saw something that made people gasp. The telepathic images that Vrath shared. His lost family. The centuries of loneliness. The choice to save a human child because he saw his own son in that boy's eyes. Many people in the courtroom started crying. The recording continued. They heard Ji-woo's voice thanking the dragon for saving her son. They saw Vrath's peaceful death, the crystallization, the seeds floating away. When the recording ended, the courtroom was silent. Even Judge Eun-ji wiped her eyes. Ki-tae stood up from the back of the room. The hunter looked uncomfortable. "That doesn't change the fact that they broke the law," he said. "No," agreed a new voice. A woman in a white coat entered the courtroom. "But it changes everything else." "Who are you?" Judge Eun-ji asked. "Dr. Bore," the woman replied. "I'm a xenobiologist. I've been studying the seeds that Vrath released. Your Honor, what we witnessed was not simply death. It was a biological miracle." Dr. Bore activated her own holographic display. It showed microscopic images of the seeds. These contain complete Draugen genetic information. But more than that, they're designed to grow slowly over centuries. They'll absorb minerals from the soil. They'll collect energy from the sun. And eventually, they'll hatch into new Draugens. The courtroom erupted in whispers. Dr. Bore continued speaking over the noise. "We've tracked the seeds across Talon 9. They've scattered to every mountain range, every valley, hundreds of thousands of them. In approximately 300 years, the first new Draugens will emerge. The species isn't extinct. Vrath ensured his kind would survive." Judge Eun-ji leaned forward. "Are you saying this dragon sacrificed himself to save his entire species?" "Not just a species," Dr. Bore said. "He did it knowing he would never see the result. He did it for a future he would never witness. That's not animal instinct. That's intelligence. That's sacrifice. That's love." She turned to face the cameras. "Every person who sees this recording needs to understand something. We've been classifying Draugens as animals, hunting them like beasts. But they're not animals. They're people, different from us. Yes, but thinking, feeling, intelligent people. And we've committed genocide against them." The courtroom exploded with noise, people shouting, reporters yelling questions. Judge Eun-ji banged her gavel repeatedly until silence returned. "Order," she demanded. "This court will have order." When everyone quieted down, Judge Eun-ji looked at Dae-ho. "Young man, you deserted your post. You stole military property. You interfered with legal operations. These are serious crimes." "Yes, Your Honor," Dae-ho said, "and I would do it again." "Why?" Judge Eun-ji asked. Dae-ho stood straight. "Because some things are more important than following orders. Vrath saved my life when I was 7 years old. He had every reason to hate humans. We destroyed his world. We killed his kind. But he still chose mercy. He chose kindness." Dae-ho's voice grew stronger. "If I had followed orders, I would have let them capture him, torture him, use him like an object. I refuse to be part of a humanity that forgets its debts. I refuse to be part of a humanity that destroys those who show us mercy." The courtroom was silent. Every eye was on Dae-ho. Judge Unji studied him for a long moment. Then she looked at the holographic display, still showing Vratha's crystallized form. "I've been a judge for 30 years, she said quietly. "I've always believed that law exists to serve justice. But sometimes we create laws that are unjust. Sometimes breaking a bad law is the right thing to do." She stood up. "The charges against Deho and Hannah are dismissed. Furthermore, I'm recommending that the Galactic Council immediately reclassify Draugans as intelligent beings. All hunting permits are to be revoked. Talon 9's Crimson Peaks will be declared a protected sanctuary." The courtroom erupted in cheers. Kite stormed out angry, but most people were celebrating. Judge Unji banged her gavel one more time. "And one more thing. Deho, Hannah, you're both being awarded medals for valor. What you did took more courage than any battle. You stood up for what was right even when it cost you everything. That's true heroism." Deho felt his mother's arms wrap around him. She was crying and smiling at the same time. Hannah grinned and punched his shoulder. "We did it," she said. "We actually did it." 6 months later, Deho stood at the entrance to Vratha's cave. It looked different now. The collapsed tunnel had been cleared. The cave was now a memorial site. Thousands of people visited every day to see where the great dragon died. Vratha's crystallized body remained in the center of the chamber. It caught the light and threw rainbows across the walls, beautiful and eternal. Around it, people left flowers and notes, messages of gratitude, apologies for what humanity had done. Deho placed his own note among the others. It was simple. "Thank you. You changed everything." He heard footsteps behind him. His mother approached with several other colonial governors. "The Galactic Council made it official today," Jiwoo said. "Talon 9 is now the Wrath Sanctuary. No mining, no hunting, no corporate operations. The entire planet is protected." "Good," Deho said. "There's more," Jiwoo continued. "They're creating a new organization, the Interspecies Protection Agency. They want you to lead it. Your job will be finding other intelligent species and making sure we don't repeat our mistakes with the Draugans." Deho looked at his mother in surprise. "Me? Led an entire agency." "Who better?" Jiwoo smiled. "You're the man who gave up everything to save someone who saved you. You understand what really matters." Deho looked back at Vratha's crystallized form. He thought about the lonely dragon who lived for 800 years, who lost everything, who still chose kindness when it mattered. "I'll do it," Deho said, "for him. So his sacrifice means something." That night, Deho camped on the mountain near the cave. He wanted to be close to Vrath one more time. As he sat by his fire, he looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, on some distant world, other species existed, other civilizations, other people who might face the same fate as the Draugans if humanity was not careful. But now humanity had learned. One dragon's mercy had taught them something important. That intelligence came in many forms. That people were not defined by what they looked like, but by what they chose to do. Deho heard a sound, a soft cracking noise. He stood up and looked around. There, in the rocks near his camp, a tiny light glowed. He approached carefully. It was one of Vratha's seeds. It had already started growing. A small crystal formation, barely the size of his hand. Inside, he could see something moving, growing, alive. "Hello," Deho whispered. "Your ancestors saved me once. I promise you'll grow up in a world that remembers him, that honors him, that learned from him." The crystal pulsed with light, like a heartbeat, like a response. Deho smiled. He sat down next to the growing seed and watched it through the night. Around Talon 9, thousands of other seeds were growing too, taking their time, building their strength, preparing for the day when new dragons would fly through these skies. It would take centuries, but they had time, and they would not be alone. Humanity would protect them now, watch over them, make sure they had the chance Wrath never got, the chance to live in peace. As dawn broke over the Crimson Peaks, Deho stood and looked at the rising sun. He thought about the boy he had been, trapped and dying in fire, saved by an ancient dragon who chose mercy. That boy had become a man. That man would spend his life repaying the debt, not just of wrath, but to every species humanity encountered, making sure that kindness was answered with kindness. That mercy was answered with protection. I won't forget you, Deho said to the wind, to the mountains, to Vratha's memory. No one will ever forget you. And across the galaxy, on 40 human worlds, people watched Hannah's recording. They saw the dragon's sacrifice. They learned his story, and they changed. They stopped seeing aliens as threats or resources. They started seeing them as people. Different people, yes, but people nonetheless, deserving of respect, deserving of life, deserving of peace. One dragon had changed everything. His wish had been simple: to see the child he saved one last time, to know his choice mattered. That wish had been granted, and its effects would echo through the centuries to come. Deho walked down the mountain as the sun climbed higher. He had work to do, an agency to build, species to protect, a future to create. But he carried Vrath with him, in his heart, in his purpose, in every choice he made. The dragon was gone, but his legacy would live forever. And somewhere in the rocks of Talon 9, tiny dragons were slowly being born. They would inherit a world protected by the humans who learned from one ancient creature's final gift, the gift of mercy, the gift of hope, the gift of a second chance. Vratha's final wish had been fulfilled, and in fulfilling it, he had saved more than one life. He had saved an entire future.